Hello, and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name is Phil, a mixing and mastering engineer. I hope you're doing wonderfully well out there in podcast land. I am recording this the night before this episode goes out because I am spectacularly unorganised at the moment, but you don't need to care about that. So I'm just going to go on with what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about, I guess, I've called it guerrilla recording. That's a bit dramatic. You might call it something more practical like recording in a home studio or recording in a rehearsal space or something like that. And, that would be an entirely accurate description. So I wanted to tell a story about a song I recorded a couple of years ago with a band called Earthtide, who are a local band to me, and they're a really, really, really cool kind of bluesy rock band. They have a total of one song available on Spotify, which is the one I recorded with them. And we wanted to keep costs relatively low for the production of this song. So what we did was we basically said, we are going to record this in the rehearsal room that they play in. And there were many reasons for that. One, it's a place where you can make lots and lots of noise, and that's okay. Two, it's a place that is each room is relatively isolated from each other, and we were the guy who owned the rehearsal studio set us apart from everybody else, so it was even quieter, which is really cool. And it basically meant it was kind of like we were in a place that they were comfortable as a band. I brought all my equipment to where they were, and we recorded the song there. So we recorded a really cool song in a not ideal environment in many ways. It was a cool room. It wasn't a perfect room by any stretch of the imagination. So what we did, because the band wanted to get that kind of live feel, we elected to record. So there's three members in the band: there's drummer, bassist and guitarist, and we elected that the bass and the guitar, at least scratch versions of them, were going to be recorded at the exact same time that we were recording the drums. So I used a reactive low box, which is a technical boring thing that basically means you can get your amp nice and quiet, and we got a kind of direct in from the guitar amp that way into the audio interface. We DI'd the bass and then properly mic'd up the drum kit. We used 10 mics, I think, on the kit, and it sounded really cool. It wasn't an ideal room. The actual sound of the room wasn't perfect, but I used it to the best of my ability. So what I actually did, here's a nice little trick for you. If you're in a room that sounds so-so, but you want a really cool drum room sound, use an SM57 or a similar kind of cheap dynamic mic. Put it on a stand as close to the wall as possible, but not touching the wall. What a weird position to put a mic in. Really crank the gain if you need to, and all the sound kind of is bouncing off the wall, and you'll get a really, really, really cool drum room sound. That's exactly what I used to get the drum room sound on this song, and I loved it. I really liked it. I was very addicted to making that thing a very significant part of the mix. So we recorded that, and because they're a very, very well rehearsed band, I think it was only a couple of takes, can't remember, it was a couple of years ago, a couple of takes, and we got the drums down. And there was a long setup time to get to that point, but we got there, and that was really cool. And the next thing we did was we did a DI of the bass. We just focused on the bass, and because Chris is an amazing bass player, it was one take beginning to end, and he was done, which was incredible. But that's testament to how he is as a musician. And then we took apart the recording for the drum kit, and we set up the guitar. So Andy was using an orange 2x12 cab with a Victory Kraken, really cool amp, and we recorded we recorded all his parts. So we recorded, a left guitar, a right guitar, some extra parts that escape me right now, but we certainly recorded some extra bits. And then we overdubbed the solo on top, and it was really, really cool. So the other thing we did was we layered on top a Marshall. I got a little 20-watt Marshall, which is like a plexi type thing, layered that over the top to just kind of get a bit of a kind of grungy, Marshall-y kind of ness, because the Kraken's a bit more of a kind of hot and heavy metal amp, and that's more of a, and obviously that's more of a kind of rock and roll amp, which was really cool. And we'd done all that, and then it was like, right, okay, cool, let's break all that down and let's do the vocals. And that was where the day kind of went wrong, is the only way I can put it. Not that they were bad at what they were doing, certainly not. They were really good at recording their vocals, but the room just was not working for vocals. It was really echoey and you couldn't get a clean recording. It was really frustrating. So actually what we did in the event was Andy, the singer, came to my house, came to my room that I'm in right now, and we recorded vocals here because it's quite a kind of dry room. It's not got a big kind of room sound to it, which meant that we could control the room sound of the song. And the other cool thing we actually did do this in the rehearsal room, is we wanted in the choruses, we wanted chants. We wanted like, whoa. You'll hear it in the song, and it's really cool part. And we wanted like this massive kind of crowd thing, and it's like, right, okay, there's 4 of us in the room, 3 of the band members, how are we going to get a big sound? So I set up one mic in the middle of the room, kind of to one side, and they all stood around it close, and they sung the chant, and then they shuffled their positions to get a kind of different feel, and they sang again. And then they took a couple of steps back. We did that. They shuffled position. We did that again. Took another couple of steps back. They sang their part, shuffled, sang their part again. Really, really cool by that point, because you were building this big kind of crowd sound that sounds like way more than just 3 people. It sounds way more than just 3 people in a room. And it's really, really cool. And then I took all those elements and I mixed it, and it's out there in the world, and I think it's a really, really cool song. It's one of those things that I listen back and I go, I'm really happy with that. I feel like it captures the vibe of the band. I know for a fact that the band were really happy with it, and that's always a gratifying thing. I guess the moral of the story, if there's a moral, I don't know, do you have a moral to recording music? Is you don't need an ideal room, and you don't need perfect equipment. I wasn't using top of the range mics. I was using good mics, but not top of the range mics. And I wasn't using top of the range preamplifiers. They were good, but they weren't top of the range or anything like that. We got in there, we got recording, got the tones that we wanted there and then, recorded those, and then we turned around, and then the mix wasn't so difficult because we'd made good decisions when we were recording. You can use bad rooms to your advantage depending on what you're doing. Like I was saying with the drum room mic, you've got to work out your limitations, what's not going to work in that room, like vocals, but what is going to work really, really well, like the drums and the way those came out. Don't use not having the right space or maybe the right budget as an excuse not to make music. I think it's really cool to make music with what you've got wherever you are, and it'll sound how it sounds, and it'll be really characterful to the room that you're in. It'll be really characterful, and it'll do its own thing. As long as you make good, clever choices as you're going through, as you're recording, then you will get a really cool vibey song at the end, like I have. If you want to listen to the song, it's in the description of the show notes. You can have a cheeky listen to what we did. And yeah, I think it's a really cool song. And to be honest with you, if you want to record with me, drop me a message and I would love to. It's not the reason for this episode, but there we are. It always helps. And that's it really. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Music Survival Guide. If you liked it, please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. It all helps the algorithm, of course. Please also share it with any friends and bandmates if you thought it was helpful, useful, interesting. Maybe not interesting, I don't know. And if you're thinking about recording or mixing and you want to talk about it, feel free to reach out to me via the links in the podcast description below, and we can have a chat, and I will see you next time.